Greetings. Sadly, Microsoft has become a real pain for the entire gaming industry. Let's take a look into the rise of Xbox and how greed and incompetence ruined a cool and once impactful brand. You know, I really liked the first Xbox. Released in 2001, Microsoft's powerhouse console didn't offer the number of established franchises that Nintendo, for example, had, nor the gigantic selection of Sony's PlayStation 2. But it still laid a great foundation for future generations. Halo was an absolute hit at launch. The console itself was technically the most powerful of the generation, and the overall bulky controller already had the right layout, and established itself in the whole gaming world. The black and green box was both monstrous and fascinating, as it finally offered a serious competitor to the two Japanese gaming giants. With the release of the Xbox 360 in 2005, Microsoft seemed ready to go all out. Nintendo said goodbye to the direct competition and went its own way with the Nintendo Wii. And the 360 turned out to be a great console. The user interface was well designed, Xbox Arcade was a hit. Basically a kind of predecessor to the indie gaming market that later exploded on PC. All arcade games offered a playable demo, and there were plenty of great choices and many of what are considered classics today. Although technically somewhat weaker than the PlayStation 3, the console had the edge overall, especially with multi-platform titles, due to Sony's too complicated architecture. Microsoft worked on building its own gaming brands, and finally the gaming world had a modern controller that was high quality, functional and ergonomic. A console hardware defect went down in history as the Red Ring of Death, proved to be a major financial setback, as many consoles had to be replaced, sometimes multiple times. But still, the console itself was a complete success in terms of design, functionality and support, and is considered the almost undisputed peak of Xbox history. By the end of the very long Generation 7, it was practically neck and neck with the PlayStation 3 in terms of sales figures. I think that was very deserved and something hardly anyone would have expected, given the huge success of Sony's previous consoles. It was also the era of Windows XP, maybe Microsoft's best operating system. One of that many Windows users still miss till today. Then, what always happens, happened. The wrong, greedy, career-hungry suit guys thought they could do everything differently, and above all more profitably. The Xbox One, announced and released in 2013, was doomed from the start. The idea was to market the device as an all-in-one entertainment system, designed more for a family's living room than for a dedicated gamer. And, as it is so often in case with corporate giants, they had absolutely no awareness of what their target audience wanted.
Watch TV. Yes, that fast. Did you see how instant that was? Go to Internet Explorer. Oh, nice. Gestures such as grab and pan and swipe up. Now, have you ever wanted to do more than one thing at a time when you're watching TV? Of course you have. Another amazing thing you can do on your Xbox. Skype.
Fortunately, we have a product for people who aren't able to get some form of connectivity. It's called Xbox 360.
Few games were presented. Instead, they forced the gaming community to mix with film fans. Because, you probably know, gamers are also watching movies, right? Right? This plan flopped, and rightly so. Microsoft didn't understand that gamers primarily want, well, good games, and that additional entertainment features should remain just that, additional, not dominant. They only had to look at Nintendo. The Wii sold extremely well, since its features were unique and properly hyped. But the software sales were disappointing, because shallow, gimmicky games couldn't win over the core community in the long run. On top of that, the Xbox One was supposed to be released with a forced online connection, which generated so much backlash for Microsoft that they reserved this user baiting practice. Sony even used this embarrassing move for their own marketing purposes, showing PlayStation 4 games traded in a classic way.
This is how you share your games on PS4.
Thanks.
The new Xbox console was seriously underpowered compared to the PlayStation 4. And it struggled early on with demanding titles like The Witcher 3. Also, Microsoft could neither maintain the quality of its former titles, nor develop new, truly top-notch games. The gradual destruction or dissolution of former top studios and franchises began and continues to this day. Rare, a former top developer for the Nintendo 64, has never been able to shine under Microsoft, and seemingly exist only in the name now. Many studios have been completely shut down, and top franchises like Halo are now mere shadows of their former selves. Microsoft primarily makes headlines with layoffs and price increases for all the hardware. Billions have invested in acquiring studios, including massive acquisitions such as Activision Blizzard and Bethesda, which has long since passed its prime. Looking at Microsoft's track record of failures, you wonder, as with Electronic Arts for example, whether they really want to expand their portfolio or simply buying up everything to minimize competition. Because after the takeovers, many studios have been destroyed piece by piece. Perhaps Microsoft doesn't want to spend the money to support games and studios, or perhaps simply because Microsoft is incapable of building functional structures. Take a look at Windows 11. Windows 11 is a messed up, buggy, slow, overloaded software full of forcefully included junk. And its only use is the fact that there isn't enough competition, and that Windows has been widely used for decades. And what is Xbox today? The two poorly selling consoles with silly names? Regarding sales, they apparently believe that the price increase could remedy the situation. I guess, given Microsoft's logic, this conclusion would also fit them well. Or is it the super streaming service? Oh wait, maybe I know it. It's the new Asus ROG Xbox Ally handhelds. Another embarrassing name stunt from the genius at Microsoft marketing. Or even from Asus, which are also pretty bad in that regard. I mean, if you look at the devices, you find what exactly in regard of Xbox? A generic controller shape and an Xbox button. Not only are these just solid but overpriced handheld PCs, they haven't even managed to include any surface features of the Xbox brand. If you want more information about that, Retro Game Corp goes in detail in its review. You can find the link in the description. You see, I can totally imagine the picture of the out-of-place decision makers at Asus and Microsoft in meetings, debating whose branding should stand out the most, and what came out was, well, just something. Again, just something. And that something is also Xbox these days. A confusing mix of hardware, software, video games, streaming, mixed up brandings, destroyed and declining studios, and less value at higher prices. While we were on the subject, at least they offered a good deal with the Xbox Game Pass, until the recent price increases. Microsoft clearly has no idea what makes a good product, what it means to build trust and retain customers. Honestly, I doubt they have a clear internal strategy on how to deal with perceived, direct or indirect competitors. Microsoft games on Nintendo consoles? Give up on Xbox hardware or try it once again? Halo on PlayStation? Partner or compete with Valve? I don't think they know. They just try something. Whatever makes the fast buck. Speaking of customer values and Valve, I think Valve is far from perfect, and yet, can you imagine how much better they could handle Xbox as a branding than Microsoft? In the handheld sector, SteamOS is already slowly overtaking Windows, I really hope they improve Linux usability and compatibility, so that gamers can simply skip Windows in the future without a second thought. At least there's a positive sign from Microsoft. The new Xbox full-screen mode for the Xbox handhelds is an attempt to make Windows more attractive. At least more attractive to use with controllers. However, and as expected, it's unfinished in the current state and can be replaced with any other decent overlay or front end. So let's be real. Everyone who is working and every company wants and needs to make money. This is how it works. But Microsoft is a perfect example of the typical gigantic corporation that celebrates incompetence, recklessness, and insolence to an unbearable degree, fueled by dying brands, a never-ending stream of cash due to their position in the industry, and a good reputation from the past. I want my Xbox back. Hardware supported by functioning software and games that raise standards. A clear strategy, vision, patience, and planning security for studios. Management that aims to retain customers long-term with service and quality, rather than making a quick buck tomorrow and thus satisfies shareholders in the short term. At this point, there's little sign of that happening. Xbox deserves better. Please consider liking and subscribing if you resonate with the video. Gaming is passion. Auf Wiedersehen.